U.S. midterm results may have been a surprise to some. The Democrats maintain control of the Senate. But here in Canada, I'm curious what the Liberals and the Conservatives can take away from the successes of their American counterparts.
Well, I'll call it the political junkies that make up the leadership for the major parties are reading lots of entrails as to what happened in the United States and what it might mean. For the Liberals, I think they might be looking at the Democrat strategy. What's interesting about the Democrat strategy is that when we look at the exit polling and the profile of individuals that voted, what's very clear is that women were highly motivated by the abortion issue, but that young people, above average number of young Americans ended up voting. And we know that for them, this whole Biden promise on the tuition front was important. So think of, for the Liberals, when they're kind of the mad scientists in the Liberal campaign trying to figure out how to motivate voters, they might be looking at issues like this and trying to replicate them for the next Liberal campaign. And for the Conservatives, they got to be looking at it and going, okay, so the Republicans did do a pickup in the House of Representatives, which is good, not as much as the Republicans wanted, but I think perhaps the lesson for the Conservatives would be, to make sure that the Conservative Party does not go too far to the right, because what looks like what happened is that, for some Americans, they were just fatigued, especially with the election deniers and those other types of, I'll call it Trump elements, that basically stemmed what should have been a red Republican tide in the U.S. election.
And we talked about this before, Nick. You said that in Canada, sort of practical-minded conservatism seems to do well these days, like the Doug Ford government, or in Quebec as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we in the previous segment we talked about Doug Ford dropping the hammer on and with the notwithstanding clause on education workers. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is he reversed himself. It's kind of like, remember during the pandemic, at some point I think cops were going to be out on the street to stop people, and then he reversed himself very quickly. So that's the pragmatism that, yes, he did kind of move forward on a particular action, but then when people reacted very negatively to that, to the Ford movement, he basically backed out. So, and I think in those particular situations, people see, okay, well, at least he's not kind of what I'll say strictly ideological or narrowly focused. There is some flexibility there.